Hello, it's California divorce attorney and litigator Richard Dwyer. Here with some tips on filing for divorce. Something that's often overlooked by parties in relating to each other when things go south is the importance of the date of separation. The date of separation is so important that understand that if you and your spouse were to separate on a Monday and you were to win the lottery on a Tuesday, then all of those lottery winnings are yours, apart from any order for temporary child support or spousal support. The income that you earn after date of separation is your separate property. So let's talk about what determines a date of separation, and let's also talk about applicable California law. California Family Code Section 771 states, "The earnings and accumulations of a spouse and the minor children living with or in the custody of the spouse while living separate and apart from the other spouse are the separate property of the spouse." Now, what that means is that if you can establish in your divorce an earlier date of separation, right, than let's say would be the case otherwise, then the income that you've earned after that date of separation is your separate property. Understand the carve-out, though. Your spouse could always go in to get child support and spousal support based on the income, even your post-separation income, that you're making, right? Temporary support is a bit different than what we're talking about here. You're always subject to having your current income be determinative of a temporary child or spousal support obligation. So what constitutes and determines a date of separation? Simply put, it's the date by which there is no going back, right? Where one of you has decided, either of you has decided that the marriage is over and there is no hope of reconciliation. Now, there are many cases out there where the parties have argued over this point because, quite frankly, human relations aren't cut and dry. You're having problems with your wife or your husband. The two of you argue, one moves out, no one says it's over. You might meet up with them later informally, maybe to get your things, maybe to talk about the payment of bills, maybe to talk about your children's educations. The two of you share a friendly moment where you're laughing and talking about it. Are you separated? If a court looks back at that, let's say the two of you never are able to reconcile after that, right? If the court looks back at that, how are they going to view your interaction during the period in which you were breaking up, right? Breaking up is often a process. It's not delineated by concrete events. So let's talk about some of the things that courts will look at in determining whether a party has separated, right? In determining the date of separation. Because keep in mind, often thousands of dollars are involved. People get bonuses, let's say an end-of-the-year bonus, that might be significant. And of course, the question is that bonus community property or is it separate property? Some of the things that a court will look at are, 1, are you paying taxes together? You'll be surprised how many couples break up and then continue to pay taxes together for several years. Now again, understand, This is a standard. It's not a light switch. Are you paying taxes together is just one factor that courts will look at, right? It's not completely determinative on its own. When combined with other facts, it might indicate to the court that the party hadn't yet decided as of that date to terminate the marriage. A more fundamental question: are you sleeping together? Let me just tell you, I've had cases in which we've had to try to explain to the court that the sex that took place after the date of separation wasn't marital sex, but was more of a friends with benefits situation. That's a very tough road to travel. Keep in mind, most of these divorce cases will ultimately settle. So the attorneys will play whatever cards they need to try to establish a date of separation that favors their client. Right? You need to be upfront in talking with your attorney about the last time you had a conjugal visit, so to speak, with your spouse. Another big one is, have you slept overnight at the family residence? Here again, if it looks like the two of you are still living together, that makes one spouse's claim that the relationship is ongoing that much more plausible. Another factor to consider in determining date of separation is whether any of the parties was interviewing an attorney in preparation of filing for divorce. Keep in mind, even if they did not hire that attorney to go through with the divorce filing, that attorney then becomes a powerful witness for them, right? Because they can point out that I spoke with this attorney because in my eyes, this marriage was over. And of course, then you have a member of the bar who isn't even your attorney of record, who's able to at least support the fact that you did meet with them to discuss the idea of filing for divorce. The attorney doesn't even have to betray the attorney-client privilege by talking about the actual contents of the communication. All he has to do is to acknowledge that, in fact, you went to that attorney and indicated that you were, ready to file for divorce. By the way, the wording's very important. If you were just considering whether to file for divorce, then that would indicate that the break between you and your spouse is not yet completely final. Another factor, and this is a huge one, in determining whether or not the parties have separated, is whether the couple has gone out to social functions as a couple. You're on very thin ice if you're claiming that you're separated from your wife and then she's able to produce 5 or 6 friends who saw the two of you out holding hands or just presenting yourself as a couple at a social event. Right? Chances are that evidence is going to look awful, especially when the judge hears you claiming that the marriage was over and then has people on the stand who can truthfully testify that they've known you for years and that they were at a function in which you were there with your wife as a couple after the alleged date of separation. And of course, another issue, and this is one couples need to think about because this is firmly within your control. And again, it's important. It's whether or not you have advised friends that the marriage is over. Right? And again, the wording is paramount. It's whether or not you have discussed with friends that your marriage is over. Not that you're having problems and that you're hoping to reconcile, or simply that your spouse is being difficult, or that you're frustrated. Rather, the question is whether or not you've told friends that the marriage is over. Unfortunately, we live in a legal world. If you're having problems with your spouse and you feel that the marriage is over, you might want to keep a diary. That diary will enable you to then remember dates when perhaps you called an attorney and discussed filing for divorce. You told a friend that you were filing for divorce. You went to events with a new person that you were dating. Things like that. So keep your eye on the ball. Don't be pigeonholed during a divorce into agreeing upon a date of separation that hurts your best interest. Let me point out, too, you'll know that you're up against a very shrewd attorney when the attorney puts unknown for the date of separation on the petition for dissolution. In fact, the response to the petition for dissolution, that would be an indication that they plan to fight you every step of the way, and they're going to try to make it look like the parties were happily married right up until the date of filing for divorce. Understand their motivation in doing so is to try to make all of the post-separation income be viewed as community property instead of separate property. If you'd like to know more, feel free to give me a call. I'm in California. Keep in mind, divorces are governed by state law, so the laws of your state might be different. But I'm in California. My name's Richard Dwyer. Feel free to give me a call at 1-800-372-9983. Again, that's 1-800-372-9983. And feel free to visit my website where I answer questions from people who have questions about their divorces. I can be found at Richard Dwyer, that's RICHARD DWYER.com. Thanks for watching.